Hello everyone, this is Rosanna, back again for, I think this is my Flosstube number 13. I go by Bright and Dusty here on YouTube and on Instagram. And thank you so much for joining me today. If you are a new viewer, please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you're returning, thank you for coming back. As you can see, I'm getting into the season. This is my channel about cross stitch, by the way. It's going to be pretty much all about cross stitch today. And yeah, I'm in a Halloween theme already. I'm wearing a Halloween dress, and then in the background, you can see this is a haunted house. I basically upcycled a plastic fairy princess house that I had found thrifting last year. And I just like spray painted it totally black and then added a bunch of gold highlights and other details. It turned out really cool. I don't think you can see it super well the way it's positioned right now, but I just thought it'd be a cute thing to have in the background. So I know it's only mid-September, but I am getting into the spirit already. So for today's video, I do have 3 FFOs, which is kind of a lot for me. So I'm going to show all 3 of them. Then I did want to talk about Sampler September, because I did get into that. I've been having a lot of fun with Sampler September, and I have a few things to show progress that I made. And then I have like 2 new starts, and I have a larger Halloween project that I did make some progress on that I'll talk about towards the end. And then I have a completed thrifted cross stitch that I will show at the very end. All right, so why don't I get right into it, starting with my FFOs, which are fully finished objects. The first one I will show is this pillow that I finally made. So this is a cross stitch that I finished maybe a month ago. I think in August sometime I had finished this. This pattern is called And Stripes by Shakespeare's Peddler. And I just love how this turned out. This fabric was a linen napkin that I dyed myself, and I figured out after it was all done that it was a 38 count, approximately 38 count. And I stitched it 2/2 with a mix of overdyed floss and DMCs. This is the first pillow where I had added a border. And I really like that effect. I think it looks great. So once again, just like the other pillow I did, I put some of the crushed walnut shells in the bottom and then polyfill for the rest. And it is just so cute. Yeah, I have a little fall display set up with my haunted house and a couple other things. And I decided to put this in there, even though I guess technically this is kind of more summery, but whatever. I decided it was fall for my purposes. So I can probably put a little picture of my display in the video. So that was that. And my second FFO, this is Unicorn's Garden by Sprouting Lupine. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of reflections today. Let me position a little bit. So this is a thrifted frame. You can see the details on it are floral. And it's not a perfect fit. I mean, the margins are a little the margins are a little bit wonky, like they're broader at the bottom and the top than they are at the sides, but I wasn't gonna be finicky about that kind of thing. You know, I didn't want to take it to a professional framer. I just wanted to do it myself, and I just got it done. And I am happy with it. So 2/2 on a 32 count linen. Yeah, this is a linen I dye myself, and if I could do it again, I would probably dye it a second time to get the blue a little bit more saturated. Yeah, it's not quite as saturated as I would like, but at the end of the day, I'm happy with how this looks, and I enjoy having it on the wall already. So I am eagerly awaiting Graveyard Guardian to come out on PDF from Sprouting Lupine, because I am planning to start that one. That was why I kind of raced to finish this. And yeah. So I don't know if I can get it any closer. Like, the glare is kind of bad today. Yeah, that looks all right. Yeah, I did discover that, I'll just show you. These little things, I forget what they're called. I like these, because I had been using some other kind of fixture on the back for my other ones, which were harder to deal with. But these are thin, and they were easy to just drill a hole, screw this in there, and they're very secure. So I am happy with that. This is just foam board that I pinned the cross stitch to. And then let me take a little sip from my soda. The last FFO I'm going to show is, of course, the Deadly Aquarium. I've loved seeing all the finishes roll in for this on Flosstube and on Instagram. There's a lot of people who finished it recently, and it's just been great to see all the different fabrics and styles and sizes of this. And mine is now complete. So let me grab it. Yeah, I could not be happier with how this turned out. I don't know if it was something about my fabric or what, but the finished piece did not really end up being like a standard size. It wasn't gonna fit in, I forget what the dimensions of the standard size are, but it wasn't gonna fit in there because I think like this guy, the ray up here was getting cut off. So I was like, oh no, am I gonna be able to find something to fit this? And I went to Goodwill with the dimensions of my finished piece written on a piece of paper, and I brought a measuring tape with me. And I was just looking at all the frames. I did a quick measurement of this one, and I realized this was slightly larger than the standard size. And in the way that I wanted it to be. I think it's like, I don't know if it's a little bit wider from side. I think it's a little bit wider from side to side or something. I don't know. But I figured that it was probably gonna work. It only cost me like $3. And I think what I determined is that this is like a size that they use a lot of times for diplomas. And if you go over to Michael's, they charge like $45–50 for a frame that is this size, because it's like a diploma with a fancy mat. And for some reason it looks better kind of in this dimension. So even though it is plain black, I'm still super thrilled that I found this very inexpensive frame and I was able to get it in here and get it up on the wall. And I actually think the black complements the design very well. So I'll try to give you a closer look. I love the colors. Yeah, I can't believe how fantastic this ended up in the end. So once again, a 32 count linen. It was an MCG Textiles brand, which I believe was more active like in the 80s and 90s. I had found it thrifting and I dyed it myself and it ended up working really well for this. I'm very happy with it. So little stats on this. This was 18,622 stitches and I started it April 12th and finished it September 2nd. And then FFO'd it the day after because I was just so excited. I really wanted to get it on the wall. And now it is. So I am going to be taking a break from the large formal stitch-alongs. I don't have any that I'm planning to do right away, even though there's so many good ones going right now. Like the Halloween one by Satsuma Street looks so cool. But I do want to do my own thing for a while. And we'll see. Next year I might do the Lola Crow stitch-along again, whatever she comes up with next year, because this one just ended up being so fantastic. So thanks to Lola Crow for making this possible for us. Okay, so those were my 3 FFOs. I've had like a really productive few weeks, I guess. Now I'll get into talking about Sampler September. So I had these plans for Sampler September. I was gonna start the Sally Spencer sampler, which I have kitted up. That did not end up happening because for whatever reason, I just had a real hankering to pull out the Winter Sampler by Crocette Gogo. So this is a really popular pattern. I have seen this finished by Stitchy Linda on Instagram, and I know there's been several other finishes of this. I had started it last winter, and I don't think I've pulled it out since maybe beginning of April, something like that. So I did have the presence of mind before I started working on it to take a before picture. So here is what it looked like the last time you saw it. And now I'll show you the progress that I made. I didn't take it out of the hoop because you can see it in its entirety. So let me just move this. So I really did make considerable progress just over the course of about a week. Because I finished this side of the flowers I needed to fill in, and then I had to do all of these flowers. I had to do the gate. I finished these snowflakes, and then I did the snowman, and I did the owl. I still need to do the owl's branch. So I think just because this is the whip that I have a fair amount of progress on, I really felt compelled to get it out rather than doing a new start. I just feel very motivated to, I don't know, I really would love to see this done. And honestly, if you look at the pattern, this top part with the house and the flowers and stuff, that is the most dense. And I'm almost like pretty much done with that area. And then when you get down to the bottom, it's a lot of individual animals and things. But with stuff like that, you can kind of sit there for a day or two and just finish them one by one. So I think that's going to be less intimidating than this part that I already have finished. So I don't know, this might continue to be a focus piece, even though, you know, it's fall, but I just really feel motivated to work on this. And it's been a lot of fun. I do enjoy working on it. It's easy. This is a 36 count vintage country mocha that I'm doing 2/2. And I think that's about all I had to say about that one. Hold on one second. My next whip, actually, this is a new start, but it's a sampler, so I'm including it in my sampler section. And let me just, everything's so scattered around here, but this is Brenda Key's Country House sampler. Her company is a sampler company, and I've decided I'm only gonna do, well, basically I'm not gonna do the border, and I'm not gonna do the alphabets up here and stuff, and like the lettering. I'm gonna do the pictures, the house, all this stuff down here. And I have seen some lately, and I can't remember all of the channels I was watching, but lately I have seen some finished Brenda Keys that other people have showed. Not this particular one, but for instance, I was watching Heidi Stitching Faye, and she showed a bunch of her finished samplers at the end of her last Flosstube video, and one of them, I think it was called like the Humility Sampler or something by the Sampler Company. And it was so beautiful. I hope that I will do that one someday. But I had this one already in my stash. So I just decided I was gonna start it for Sampler September. And let me find my progress on it. So it is not a lot of progress, but it's something. So I got a little bird done, and then part of one of those floral motifs. And I did just want to talk about this thread for a second. So, what happened was, months ago, I had found a bunch of, it's called rayon thread, but it was embroidery thread that I believe is mostly used with a sewing machine embroidery. And I had found it at a thrift store and forgot about it because it wasn't really suitable for stitching, like handwork. However, well, let me show you. This is the stash of it that I had found back then. And I found a lot of different colors, and they're really shiny. They look so pretty on the spools, you know. So I found a bunch of them, months ago, and I'll show you what the label says. Yeah, so like this is called Rayon Madeira. That's one of the brands in there. And there's another one. Oh, there's like Coats and Clark's Rayon. And you can see it says number 40. Some of them say number 35. So I had found these and forgot about them. And then I think it was 2 or 3 days ago, I was out thrifting again and I found more. So these are also number 40 rayon embroidery threads. I'm trying not to spill these, that's why I'm holding them kind of weird. And here's one that's like unwrapped so you could see. It's like shiny. So I did a little bit of just researching about like what it means, a 35 or a 40 embroidery thread, like what does that mean? Basically it just means it's a little bit thicker than just your regular average sewing thread. So it's not as thick as embroidery floss, or as like DMC. It's not as thick as DMC, which is used for cross stitching, but it is thicker than just regular sewing thread that you would use on a sewing machine. And I was reading some things online with hand embroidery, and they were saying, you know, if you use like 2 strands of a 40 weight rayon thread on like a high count fabric, you'll get the coverage that you need. So I'm always just trying to experiment with different techniques. And I figured, you know, if I don't like it, I don't have to continue the project. I can start it over with different threads. But this is my start with the 40 weight or 35 weight rayon embroidery thread. So I'm using 2 strands over 2 threads, and this is a 40 count cream linen by Zweigart. And so far, I'm not really having a problem with it. It's not fraying. It's not coming loose or anything. The one drawback is that it is pretty slippery. As you can imagine, it is synthetic material, and yeah, however it's manufactured, it just makes it really slippery. So if you're not controlling your needle pretty like deliberately, the thread does have a tendency to kind of like sneak out. But as I'm going on with it, I do think I'm getting a little bit more control over that. So that was just my little story about experimenting with the rayon, like the rayon thread that is a 40 weight. I do know that DMC has like its own rayon line that is specifically for cross stitch, but I just wanted to see what would happen since I had all of these rayon threads, like 2 boxes of them, and I have a lot of colors, how that would work. So as you can imagine, I'm not doing like an exact correlation with all the colors. I'm just picking based on the cover photo, like what does it look like? Do I have one that matches or is close enough? And doing it that way. So we'll see how it goes. You know, if I get sick of the rayons, maybe I'll just scrap the whole thing. So far, I do think it looks nice. It kind of has that same like shiny effect that silk does. So that's pretty cool. Okay. So that was another sampler September update. my last Sampler September thing, this is called The Sampler of Olga by Reflet Soie. And I had started it a few months ago. I had a small start, and I can show you what it looks like on my tablet here because I got it as a PDF. So yeah, there's the name of it. It's in French, Sampler d'Olga. It's a red sampler. There are 3 colors in it. I am using a sulky thread conversion that I just kind of like eyeballed it and picked. It's basically like a pink and then 2 reds that are different shades. So I'll show you the progress that I made. So I love how this looks. It's absolutely gorgeous. The sulky threads have amazing coverage. I'm just using 1 strand on over 2 threads on 40 count Silver Moon by Zweigart linen. And I think they look just beautiful. I have noticed, and it might be because I'm using the twin pointed needles, two-handed stitching with twin pointed needles. The sulky threads have a tendency to fray a little faster, but I think that is because of the twin pointed needle and just the way it's constructed. It's just a little harder on the thread, and because that thread is a little bit thicker, there's just more friction. So I don't think that's because like of the quality of the thread. I think it's just the aerodynamics of it or whatever. But this is huge. I am committed to getting it finished someday. However, I have decided I do not want to do this big column with the leaves, and I do not want to do this big row with those shapes. They're just not very interesting to me. I love all of this stuff, especially the wreath and the heart. And I do like the different design with all these things that kind of look like quilts. I love those parts. I'm not going to do those outside areas. And that's going to cut it down considerably. But this is giant. Like my fabric is really big. But I'm not going to give up on it because I think once it is finished, it's going to look amazing. So honestly, I just, maybe after like winter is done, Halloween and Christmas, once those are finished, maybe this could be a focus piece for like January, February, March, because it's so Valentine's and spring and beautiful. And it does work in Pattern Keeper, which is really helpful. It loaded into it a little strange because it I mean, I don't know how to describe it, but it does work. And I haven't been having issues with it. It's just it listed all of the colors multiple times for some reason. I don't exactly know why, but it still works fine just using that tool to help mark off your stitches, count your stitches, and all that stuff. And I think that's like kind of unusual for a lot of the sampler brands and reproduction samplers. A lot of them are only available print format. So this has been really helpful to buy it directly from the Reflet Soie website and then load it into Pattern Keeper. And then this is not a new start. This is just another sampler that I hope to start before the end of the month, just so I have it in my whip pile and I can just pick it up whenever I want, because I am really excited to get this one going. So I kitted it. It is Rejoice Evermore by Brenda Gervais. I had just randomly, I picked this up because I stopped at one of my local needlework shops, which is called Expressions in Needle Art by, located in Canandaigua, New York. And that is technically the closest LNS to me. There's also Hobby House Needleworks, but that one's like a little bit further away. So I had stopped there randomly one afternoon. I was looking through basically every single pattern that was there. And this is the one that I picked. And I didn't really have plans to start it immediately. However, I was watching Handmade by Sarah W. I think it was probably her most recent video where she showed her finish of this. So that just kind of clinched it for me. Hers was so beautiful, and I love this house. I think it's just because there are curtains in the window, which I haven't really seen that before on a sampler. And I was just so struck by those birds. I love stitching birds. So after I saw Sarah's finish of it on her channel, Handmade by Sarah W, I just decided I was going to kit it. So I basically just pulled a bunch of flosses. Some of them are over dyed and some of them are just DMC. I pulled them from my stash. I approximated as close as I could what was originally called for. And yeah, we still have 2 weeks left in September. They are going to be, for me, they're going to be 2 busy weeks because I do have a trip that I'm taking at the end of the month. But I am hoping to maybe get this started before the end of the month. And then it's ready to go. And that will be my first ever Brenda Gervais, which is really exciting. I love her designs. So that concludes my segment about Sampler September. I did kind of surprise myself with like making so much progress on the winter sampler. I think I am getting a lot more into sampler stitching. For some reason, I'm just responding to it really well. And like I said, it's really fun to just kind of finish a motif and then put it away for the night. And then the next day, do another motif, etc. But let me get into a couple of new starts. So this one is called the Enchanted Autumn Cabin by Flossy Fox Shop. So you can find this pattern in the most recent issue. I think this is the most recent issue of Just Cross Stitch. It's Autumn 2024. And it looks like this. And I know that Flossy Fox Shop has an Etsy shop and offers like digital downloads. I'm not sure if this one is available yet though, because I think like it's in the magazine for a while. Or it's in the magazine, they wait a while and then like she will put it on the site, I think. But I know that if you want to start it right away, you can get it in the magazine. And I did make pretty good progress on this. You can kind of see me through the Ada. I have this board here. Let's see if that helps. Yeah, I think like the black it's kind of better further back. So I really wanted to do the dragon. So I like made my way down there and did him. I finished the cabin. And this is it looks like a duck. It looks like a mallard duck to me. It's so cute. This is 2 strands of DMC over 1 Aida square. I will talk about this fabric just for a sec. So I mentioned in my last video that I had found this this Aida. It's called Damask Aida. You can see it in the label here. This one's an 18 count black. So you can even see when I move it around, it's like a little shiny. And when I found this out thrifting, I also found it in pink. So this is also Zweigart Damask Aida 18 count. And yeah, you might be able to see a little better. Like it has a luster to it. The label does say that it is 45% cotton and 55% viscose. So I was circumspect about this because I had a bad experience with 18 count opalescent Aida where it was basically impossible to get my needle through it. So I was like, I'm gonna give the Damask Aida a try, and if it's too stiff, I'm just gonna scrap it. I don't want to like force it. So I was circumspect about it, but I wasn't having any of those issues that I had with the opalescent. This is a lot softer and more flexible, and that might be because of the viscose. That might just kind of make it more flexible. The one drawback would be that like I don't think my stitches lie quite as perfectly as they just do on regular Aida. But that might also just be because it's very highly saturated black, and I think you can just see like whatever inconsistencies between your stitches are going to stand out like really forcefully on a black that is this dark. So I was a little bit like, well, are they not lying as nice as I would like? Should I just go to regular Aida? But the overall effect, once it's all stitched up, is amazing. It looks great. And I'm super happy with it. I would not pick a different fabric. Also, just because this is so colorful, and like a rainbow, it looks amazing on this really, really dark saturated black fabric. So I'm excited to get this done. It is not a huge pattern. I feel like I have finished like 2 of the big motifs. I have finished the house and the dragon. There is a fox over here, but like those are 2 of the big parts that I have done. So I'm hoping that I will get this done maybe by the end of October, which would be really cool. It is really warm here today. We had a little bit of a cold snap last week, and then all of a sudden it was like summer again. So it's a little on the warm side, which is why I'm drinking soda. But my other new start all right, I gotta make sure I know where all this stuff is. Okay, I found it. I did get a start on the hashtag Make It Murder Sal Um, so this is a stitch along hosted by Stephanie and Allison of Cross Stitch the Globe, where you pick a cutesy pattern and you put some scary elements into it. So like, first of all, I'll show you my very professional charting job. So this is a piece of graph paper with giant squares that I like had lying around. And that is a knife. So I figured out how to chart this knife, more or less. And I decided, you can see, like, these are regular X's, regular crosses, and then I'm doing the knife over one because I just decided that was going to be more detailed or something. So that is my charting job. And then, yeah, I decided I'm just going to show the thing that I picked. I was going to like keep it a secret, but there's really no reason to. The person I'm planning to give this to does not watch these videos, so it really doesn't matter. Here is the design. So you can see this is actually a Joan Elliott design. It says it up there, Joan Elliott. And it's just a cutesy house with hearts and stuff. Like, it's supposed to be kind of like, oh, welcome to your new house, like housewarming card gift thing. Because this book is called Quick to Stitch Cross Stitch Cards. So the design is like 65 by 65. So it's not huge. The house is kind of dense. I mean, that's going to be a fair amount of stitching in there, but I don't know. I'm confident that I can do it. And basically, you can see, oh, sorry, I'm trying not to show the pattern. I don't think it was in the screen. But you can see that there's some bunnies. So this is my riff on the cute bunny cross stitch. I do enjoy cute bunnies. I have stitched cute bunnies before. I'll put a picture in. These are cute bunnies that I gave to my mom for Mother's Day, so I have nothing against the cute bunny genre. But here is what I've come up with so far. So do you see the knife that I charted? It's right here. And there is one of the rabbits. So I did get a little start on that. My idea is I'm gonna put bunnies, I think, in all the corners and give them these knives with like a little bit of blood. And I don't think I'm gonna change like anything else. I think I'm just gonna leave the house like the the dream house. The person I am intending to give this to will find this funny for, you know, for reasons, but no bunnies were harmed in the creation of this design. I will say that. All right, so that was just a fun little update. Yeah, I'm stitching that on just like a 28 count piece of white even weave. And yeah, so the fabric is not that exciting, but. And if someone had said to me like, oh, your first Joan Elliott is gonna be like this thing that you like make into a murder mystery type cross stitch, I would have been like, really? That doesn't sound like me. But here we are. All right, and then we'll get to my, this is my very last like update whip thing. It's a Seedy Pumpkin Cottage. And here's what it looks like. It's by Praiseworthy Stitches. So I am intending this to be a focus piece. And it was a focus piece for several weeks. This past week, I set it aside to concentrate on Winter Sampler. But I have worked a lot on this, and once again, I didn't take it out of the hoop because you can see the whole thing. But here is my progress. So I mentioned in one of my other videos that this house is originally charted in a bright green to make it look like a haunted house. I have switched it to mustard yellow. I think the color is, I want to say it's 3821. I think, and so far it's going good. I'm stitching this 1/2 on a 36 count Monster Mash by Picture This Plus. And this is basically the front door of the house, and then I got over to one of these windows. You can see there is like a little ghost in that window, which is so adorable. I got one of the pumpkins done. As you can see, this is incredibly dense stitching. This is going to take a really long time. But what I'm doing is trying to, in a working copy of the chart, just like highlight approximately 900 stitches. And that is my like weekly goal. Because that's kind of the way it was with Deadly Aquarium. It was like between 900 and 1,000, I want to say, on a regular week. So that is what I've been doing. And because the house is basically, it's like pretty much a full coverage house, it's very easy to just mark off like 9 squares on the pattern and have your 900 stitches. So I'm excited about this. Bernadette on Burn Stitches, her channel, she finished another one of these. It was called the, I forget what it was called. It was a different Praiseworthy Stitches that she finished recently, and it looked really, really cool. And I think she's starting another one. So I'm keeping tabs on her channel because I really love seeing these and seeing how other people stitch them and how they turn out and all that. And I'm using DMCs on this. I'm not using the overdyes that were called for. And they do give you a DMC list. Yeah, so that's a Seedy Pumpkin Cottage. That's like my foray into Halloween stitching. And yeah, the last couple of days I've been on my front porch, like walking in through the front door or whatever, and I've just been noticing there's all these spider webs like everywhere. And I know the spiders become more prevalent in the fall, so that's not super surprising. But I was looking around and I was like, you know, I feel like I am living in the Seedy Pumpkin Cottage because there are spider webs everywhere, and there's like a lot of spider webs in this chart. You know, towards the end you like add them in when you're doing the back stitching. And yeah, so after I got back from my run this morning, my neighbors probably thought I was nuts because since I was already like sweaty and dirty, I went and got like a broomstick from the shed, and then I was on my front porch just like hacking through all of these cobwebs like all over the place. And I think it's just because I had just let it go for so long. It was just the sort of thing I never really thought about clearing them out. And then over the course of time, they had just accumulated. And I was, not only were there spider webs, but you know, there were like brown spiders. I don't like those. And I'm hopeful that by clearing out their webs, they will decamp and move on somewhere else. But anyway, it's looking a lot better out there now. And yeah, I guess life imitates art because I'm like living in the Seedy pumpkin cottage. But anyway, that was a digression. Now I have like 2 pieces of haul, nothing crazy. One of them is the Home for the Holidays Blackbird Designs book. There's a lot of really great designs in here. The reason I got it is because I want to stitch this one. It's called the Christmas Garden. And the reason I want to do this, it just really struck me because all the motifs are different. You can see these flower baskets are not symmetrical, like on either side. This one's different from this one. This tree is different from this. Like you do have symmetrical deer here and birds. But for the most part, the motifs were all different, and I just think the effect is so cool. And I love this lettering down at the bottom. So one of the other reasons I wanted to make more progress on Winter Sampler was just because I know that I would really like to start this, but I don't want to start it until I have more progress on the Winter Sampler. Yeah. And there's also another Christmas one I want to start, which is called the Mistletoe Manor by Pansy Patch, Quilts and Stitchery, which is a new release. I haven't bought it yet, but I definitely want to start that one. But I have to stop starting so many huge things, especially like, I kind of consider all of these in the genre of like Christmassy type stuff. So I would like to make more progress on Winter Sampler before I start a bunch of these other big ones. But anyway, that was one of my pieces of haul. And then the other one, this is a Mirabilia design called Garden Beauty. I've never stitched a Mirabilia. And right now I have like too many really big things happening. So I don't think I'm gonna start this right away. And I would have never expected that this is the one I would pick, just because there's so many mermaids, and the Royal Holiday one I love, like the Christmas Queen, I love that one. And there's fairies, so many choices with Mirabilias. I would have never ever thought I would have just picked like this one. However, in the Facebook group, it's called Mirabilia Nora Corbett Full Conversions. That is the name of the Facebook group. And back in July, someone had posted their finish of this, but she had converted it to blacks and purples. Like the dress was black, the flowers were purple, and that person did an absolutely incredible job converting this to black. And I just couldn't get over it. And she very kindly also posted her conversion of it with all of the colors. So I printed that out or whatever, or I copied it, you know, copied the list, and I have that. And it's still available if you're in that group, or, you know, you join that group, you can find it. But once I saw that, I was like, you know, I feel very compelled to stitch that. Even though it would be a lot of black stitching, which isn't always the most fun, the effect when it's done is really striking. It's very beautiful. So that was the Mirabilia Nora Corbett Full Conversions. And that's a Facebook group. All right. So for the last thing I will show, and I think this is the very last thing. I'm not going to talk about books today. So I think this is the very last thing, and it is a thrifted, finished cross stitch. I try to show one every video. I plan to do that until I run out of them, but that hasn't happened yet. So this one I wanted to show because here we are at the tail end of summer, and this is definitely like a summer stitch. So I wanted to show it before we get into like fall, winter. I did figure out that the name of this, and I'm not going to pronounce this correctly because I think it's French, but it is by, first of all, it's a Lanarte kit called Meadow Dance, and the artist is Marjolein Bastin. I think I'll just put that lettering on the screen so you know what the letters are. And this is a big one. This is one that I had found before I even started cross stitching. So, and if you can believe it, it was in a worse frame than this. I put this in this frame, but I didn't really know anything about stretching, so I didn't stretch it out. That's why it's kind of wrinkled. And eventually I probably will take it out and reframe it and maybe find a frame that has like better margins, because the margins at the bottom and the top are pretty wide. But for what it is, you know, I rescued it from the thrift store where it was in a really, really crappy frame. But this has so much beautiful detail, so many butterflies. Like the butterflies are everywhere in this. And there's also some insects, other insects, and of course the beautiful flowers. And yeah, it's on an Ada. And it is just so striking. I mean, it just looks like you're in nature when you look at this. So I have this hanging up in my sunroom because my sunroom has a butterfly theme. And the reason for that is because when my husband and I got married 2 years ago, butterfly was like the theme of our wedding. I made all these butterfly decorations, and now they are in our sunroom. So this just fits perfectly in there. And yeah. I hope you enjoyed seeing that one. And looks like I'm just at an hour, and thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of my updates and my new starts, and I am looking forward to continuing with Sampler September and then getting into Halloween stitching. But until next time, happy stitching. Bye.